What's up, everybody? It's your boy Travel Smart back at it again with a brand new video. And let me tell you, this one's a wild ride. We're talking about travel nightmares, those scary stories you hear about that make you go, no way that actually happened. But guess what? They did. We dove deep into the internet, read a ton of crazy travel blogs, and let me tell you, some of this stuff is straight up bananas. From phantom cabs in India to haunted hotels in New Orleans, we got it all. So buckle up, smash that like button, and get ready to have your mind blown. This video's about to get real, like really creepy real. Alright, so picture this. You're in New Delhi, it's late, you're exhausted, and you just want to get back to your hotel. You hail a cab, tell the driver where you're going, and boom, you're off. But then, things start getting weird. The driver takes a wrong turn, then another, and another. You're lost in a maze of unfamiliar streets, and the driver's acting super sketchy. This is exactly what happened to one traveler, who swore up and down that his cab driver was taking him in circles, driving further and further away from the city. Luckily, this dude kept his cool, shared his live location with a friend, and managed to jump out at a busy intersection. He's convinced the driver was trying to kidnap him, and honestly, I kinda believe him. The moral of the story? Always double-check your ride, share your location, and if something feels off, trust your gut. Okay, this next story is the stuff of nightmares. Imagine trekking through the Amazon rainforest, one of the most biodiverse places on Earth. You're with a group exploring the jungle when suddenly you realize you're separated. You call out for your friends, but all you hear is the echo of your own voice. Yeah, that's exactly what happened to this one hiker, who got separated from his group and ended up completely lost in the Amazon. He spent days wandering through the jungle, surviving on whatever he could find, constantly on edge from the sounds of wild animals. Thankfully, after what felt like an eternity, he stumbled upon a local village and was rescued. Lesson learned? Always, and I mean always, use licensed guides when you're exploring unfamiliar territory, especially somewhere as wild as the Amazon. Oh, and let your embassy or hotel know your plans just in case. You know how much I love a good Airbnb, right? Way better than staying in some stuffy hotel. But this next story made me rethink my whole stance on vacation rentals. So this couple booked a super cute Airbnb in Barcelona. Everything seemed perfect, until they noticed something weird, a tiny blinking light hidden in the smoke detector. Turns out, it was a hidden camera, secretly recording their every move. Can you imagine? They were freaking out, obviously. They immediately reported it to Airbnb and got the police involved. Turns out the host was a total creep who had been filming guests for who knows how long. So, yeah, always inspect your Airbnb for hidden cameras. Check the smoke detectors, the alarm clocks, even the light fixtures. Chapter 4, Stranded in Morocco. Okay, this next one happened to a friend of a friend, but it's still super messed up. These two girls decided to rent a car and explore Morocco, which sounds like an amazing adventure, right? Well, it was, until their car broke down in the middle of nowhere. Like seriously nowhere, no cell service, no signs of civilization, just miles and miles of desert. They were stranded there for days, and to make matters worse, they didn't speak any of the local languages. Luckily, they eventually ran into some nomadic people who helped them out, but it was a close call. The takeaway? Always rent a car from a reputable company, learn some basic local phrases, and for the love of all that is holy, don't venture off the beaten path without letting someone know your itinerary. Chapter 5. The Stalker in Rome. Alright, this one's straight out of a horror movie. This girl was traveling solo in Rome, living her best life, when she noticed this creepy dude following her. At first she thought it was just a coincidence, but then she saw him everywhere she went. At the Trevi Fountain, the Colosseum, even outside her hotel. She tried to lose him in the crowds, but he always seemed to reappear. She finally confided in a local shopkeeper, who helped her contact the police. Turns out the guy had been stalking her for days and they caught him just in time. This is why you gotta trust your gut, people. If you feel like someone's following you, they probably are. Don't be afraid to cause a scene, call for help, or even just start running. Your safety is worth more than being polite. Chapter 6. Drugged in Bangkok. This next story is a harsh reminder to be careful about who you trust, especially when you're traveling. So this guy was out at a bar in Bangkok having a good time when he met this group of super friendly locals. They were chatting, laughing, buying him drinks, the whole 9 yards. He thought he'd made some new friends, but little did he know they were slipping something into his drink. The next thing he remembers is waking up in his hotel room completely disoriented with all his valuables gone. They drugged him and robbed him blind. I know it sounds like something out of a movie, but it happens all the time. Never, ever leave your drink unattended, and be very careful about accepting drinks from strangers, no matter how friendly they seem. Alright, this one's just messed up. Imagine you're strolling through a bustling market in Beijing, soaking up the sights and sounds, when suddenly, this monk approaches you. He's wearing traditional robes, has prayer beads, the whole deal. He offers you a blessing for good luck, and being the respectful traveler you are, you accept. But then, things take a turn. He demands money for the blessing, and when you refuse, he starts getting aggressive. This is a classic scam, guys. These fake monks prey on tourists who are unfamiliar with local customs. Remember, if it seems too good to be true, it probably is. Be wary of anyone approaching you with unsolicited offers, especially if they involve money or valuables. Now, I'm not usually one for ghost stories, but this one freaked me out. So these two friends decided to spend a weekend in New Orleans, which, let's be real, is known for being haunted AF. They booked a room in this old historic hotel, and at first, everything seemed cool. But then, things started getting creepy. They kept hearing strange noises at night, like whispers and footsteps in the hallway. Objects in their room would move on their own, and they both swore they felt a cold presence watching them. They even found old newspaper clippings in the room about a murder that had taken place there decades earlier. Turns out, their room was supposedly the most haunted in the entire hotel. Okay, this story is straight out of an action movie. A group of tourists booked a safari in Kenya, excited to see lions, elephants, the whole shebang. They hired a local guide, piled into a jeep and headed off into the savannah. But little did they know, their guide had ulterior motives. Midway through the safari, the guide pulled out a gun and held the tourists hostage. He demanded ransom money from their families, threatening to harm them if they didn't comply. Thankfully, the authorities were able to track them down and rescue the tourists, but it was a terrifying ordeal. Always book safaris through reputable tour operators, and make sure all the guides and staff are properly licensed and vetted. Chapter 10. This next story is a reminder that sometimes, even the people who are supposed to protect you can be shady AF. This couple was walking around Mexico City when they were suddenly approached by two men dressed as police officers. The officers demanded to see their passports and visas, and when they couldn't produce them immediately, they started accusing them of being illegal immigrants. They threatened to arrest them unless they paid a hefty bribe. The couple was terrified, but they stood their ground and refused to pay. Turns out the police officers were actually imposters looking to scam tourists. Always be wary of anyone claiming to be law enforcement, and if you're ever unsure, ask to see their identification or call the local police station to verify their identities. Chapter 11. This story is a hiker's worst nightmare. A group of friends decided to go on a multi-day trek through the Himalayas in Nepal. They were experienced hikers, well-equipped and excited for the challenge. But one day, disaster struck. One of the hikers, a young woman, got separated from the group. They searched for hours, but she was gone. Turns out she had taken a wrong turn and ended up lost and alone in the vast, unforgiving mountains. Days turned into nights as she struggled to survive in the freezing temperatures with limited supplies. Thankfully, after what felt like an eternity, a rescue team found her, weak but alive. Chapter 12. Now, I'm all for immersing yourself in the local culture when you travel, but this story is a reminder to be cautious about who you trust. A young traveler was exploring Bangalore when he met a super-friendly local who offered to show him around the city. They visited temples, tried street food, and the traveler thought he'd made a new friend. But as the day wore on, the locals started making the traveler uncomfortable. He kept insisting they go to secluded areas, and his demeanor became increasingly aggressive. Sensing danger, the traveler made an excuse to leave and quickly got away. He later found out that the friendly local was known for drugging and robbing tourists. Border crossings can be stressful enough without having to deal with corrupt officials, but that's exactly what happened to this next traveler. He was crossing the border from one Eastern European country to another when he was stopped by Border Patrol. They demanded to see his passport, visa, and even his bank statements. They scrutinized every document, looking for any excuse to give him a hard time. Then they hit him with it. They claimed his visa was invalid and threatened to detain him unless he paid a processing fee. He knew they were just trying to extort money from him, but he felt powerless to do anything about it. This story is every parent's worst nightmare. A family was enjoying a magical day at Disneyland Paris when suddenly, the unthinkable happened. Their young child vanished. They searched frantically for hours, their hearts pounding with fear. They alerted park security, who launched a full-scale search operation. Minutes felt like hours as they desperately checked every ride, every gift shop, every nook and cranny of the park. Imagine the relief when they finally found their child, safe and sound, but the trauma of those lost hours stayed with them forever. This last story is a reminder to be vigilant about your financial security, especially when you're using ATMs abroad. A traveler was in Athens and needed some cash, so he stopped at a conveniently located ATM. He inserted his card, entered his PIN, and withdrew some money. Everything seemed normal until he checked his bank account a few days later and noticed a series of unauthorized withdrawals. Turns out the ATM had been tampered with. A skimmer device had stolen his card information, and now someone was draining his account. Dude, I'm telling you, some of these stories are seriously wild, right? It's crazy to think that these things actually happen to travelers all the time. But hey, don't let these stories scare you off. The world is an amazing place, and traveling is one of the best things you can do with your life. Just be smart, be aware of your surroundings, and trust your gut. And hey, if you've got any crazy travel stories of your own, drop them in the comments below. You know I love a good story time. Until next time, peace out.